My name is Avery Hale, and I am 34 years old. 3 weeks ago, my mother invited me to my sister's 40th birthday dinner after 8 years of silence. She said it was time to heal. She said my father was getting older. She said my sister wanted peace. She said the family had carried pain long enough, and if I still had a heart, I would come sit at the table like a daughter again. I should have known better. The dinner was held in a private room at an expensive steakhouse outside Nashville. White tablecloths, low candles, soft music. My sister Madison sitting at the center of the table in a green dress, smiling like she had personally forgiven the world for disappointing her. My parents were there. 2 cousins were there. Madison's husband was there. My husband, Daniel, sat beside me with one hand resting near mine under the table. For almost an hour, everyone behaved. They asked about my work. They asked about our house. They asked about Daniel's students. My mother even said I looked well, which in Elaine Hale's language was the closest thing to a compliment that did not cost her pride. Then dessert came. Madison blew out the candle. Everyone clapped. My mother reached into her purse and pulled out a cream-colored envelope. For one foolish second, I thought it might be a letter. Not a full apology. I had stopped expecting miracles years ago, but maybe a beginning, maybe one sentence that admitted something had gone wrong. Instead, she took out 3 documents: a family reimbursement plan, a quitclaim deed, and a statement saying that everything that happened 8 years ago had been a misunderstanding caused by my unauthorized involvement in private family matters. At the bottom of the reimbursement plan was a total $784,000. My mother slid the papers across the table and said, "Avery, this is what you owe this family." The room went silent. My father looked down. Madison lifted her glass of wine like she had waited all night for that sentence. And my mother looked at me with the same calm face she had worn 8 years earlier when she asked me to sign my first lie. What she did not know was that I had brought a document of my own. A red leather portfolio, brass zipper, heavy enough to make the table sound different when I set it down. Inside were 8 years of returned letters, screenshots, bank records, trust documents, property reports, and one statement from my grandmother that my family had tried to bury. My mother brought a bill. I brought the truth. I grew up in Maple Ridge, Tennessee, a small town where everyone knew your car before they knew your name. My family owned Hale and Daughters, a hardware store my grandfather opened in 1969. My father, Paul Hale, ran the store with a quiet smile and a handshake everyone trusted. In public, he was steady and respected. At home, he let my mother control the weather. Elaine Hale could make a room cold without raising her voice. She ran the church nursery schedule, the store books, the holiday dinners, and every emotion in our house. She loved order. She loved being thanked. Most of all, she loved being right. My older sister Madison was the golden child. Beautiful, loud, helpless in a way that made everyone rush toward her. If Madison made a mistake, someone had pushed her. If Madison needed money, the family pulled together. If Madison cried, the room moved. I was the quiet one. I did dishes. I balanced the store cash drawer. I remembered birthdays. I learned early that being useful was safer than asking to be loved. Numbers became my language. They did not twist themselves into guilt. They did not cry when cornered. They simply sat there and told the truth. My grandmother Ruth understood that. Grandma Ruth was my father's mother. She lived at the edge of town in a white house with green shutters and a porch that smelled like lemon soap. She kept receipts in shoe boxes labeled by year and taught me to read bank statements before I could drive. She used to tap my hand with a pen and say, "Avery, people who rush you are usually hoping you won't read." At 24, I came back from college and worked part-time at the hardware store while studying for my accounting certification. One rainy Tuesday night, I stayed late to reconcile the monthly books. That was when I found the checks. 6 months of payments from Grandma Ruth's account to Madison, $4,800, $6,200, $3,750, $9,000, another vendor payment to Madison's failed boutique. The memo lines said things like home repair and medical help. But Grandma Ruth did not need home repair. I had changed her porch bulb myself for less than $4. She also paid exact amounts, down to the cent. These checks were round numbers. The signatures were close. Too close. But I knew Grandma Ruth's handwriting. The R leaned wrong. The H was too sharp. By midnight, I had printed everything. By 12:20, my mother was standing in the store office looking at the papers with annoyance instead of shock. "Your grandmother helps this family when she can," she said. "She didn't write these." "You don't know that." "I know her signature." Then Madison came through the back door, and I understood my mother had called her before she called the truth. Madison glanced at the papers and rolled her eyes. "Are we really doing this? Did you write these checks?" I asked. She laughed once. "You sound like a prosecutor." "Did you?" My mother stepped between us. "Your sister needed help. Grandma would have wanted to help. Then why fake her signature?" The room went silent. Madison's face hardened. "You always think you're better than us because you can use a spreadsheet." I looked at my mother. "Grandma needs to know." "No," Mom said. "One word, flat as a slammed door. She has a right to know her money is gone." "She is 82 years old," Mom said. "You want to scare her? You want to make her think her own family stole from her?" "They did steal from her." Mom lowered her voice. "Avery, listen carefully. Your father cannot handle another scandal. The store cannot handle gossip. Madison has a child. You are single. You don't understand pressure. You are going to put those papers away." "And if I don't?" She looked at me as if I had finally become too inconvenient to love. "Then you will be choosing paperwork over family." I did not put the papers away. The next morning, I went to Grandma Ruth. I told her everything while she sat on her porch with a blanket over her knees. When I finished, she closed her eyes and whispered, "I wondered when they would ask you to lie." She already suspected money was missing. My mother had told her it was for taxes, insurance, emergencies. Grandma Ruth had signed 2 checks early on, then stopped when the amounts kept changing. After that, someone had simply continued signing for her. Within a week, Grandma Ruth froze her accounts and met with her attorney, Margaret Bell. She also changed her trust documents, naming me successor trustee if she became unable to manage her affairs. I begged her not to do it. "They'll say I manipulated you." Grandma Ruth took my hand and said, "I am not giving you power because you are angry. I am giving it to you because you read before you sign." My family found out 3 days later. Sunday dinner became a trial. Dad sat at the head of the table. Mom stood by the stove. Madison cried into a napkin without tears. I stood there with my purse on my shoulder and the truth in my hands. Mom slid a typed statement across the table. It said I had accessed private financial records without permission and made false accusations against Madison out of jealousy. There was a blank line at the bottom for my signature. "Sign it," Mom said, "and we can stop this before you ruin everything." I looked at my father. "You want me to sign a lie?" He did not meet my eyes. "I want this family to survive." That was the moment I understood that peace in my family meant protecting the loudest person, not the person who was right. I folded the statement and put it in my purse. My mother grabbed my wrist. Hard. "You do not get to take that." I looked down at her hand, then back at her face. "Let go." Dad said her name softly, too softly. She let go. As I walked out, Madison said, "She'll be back. Where else is she going to go?" I did not turn around, but I kept the statement. It became item 1. The first year away from my family was quiet in the cruelest way. My shifts at the hardware store vanished. My mother told people I had mishandled family records. Madison posted a photo of Sunday dinner with the caption, "Protecting peace means removing poison." 3 church women unfriended me by Wednesday. I moved to Nashville with 2 suitcases and $1,700. I rented a room from a night shift nurse named Camille, took a bookkeeping job at a small nonprofit, and tried to stop checking my phone. I called Dad twice. No answer. I texted Mom once. I wrote, "I love you. I did not do this to hurt the family. I did it because Grandma deserved protection." She replied, "Family protects family." I printed it at the public library and put it into a red accordion folder. Item 2. At first, I was not building evidence. I was trying to stay sane. When people rewrite your life in front of you, proof becomes oxygen. Over the next 8 years, the folder grew. Returned birthday cards, screenshots of Madison calling me bitter, a cousin's comment saying, "Some daughters think a calculator makes them God," voicemail transcripts, certified mail slips, bank notices, legal memos, every document that showed the difference between what they said happened and what actually happened. Grandma Ruth called every Saturday. Sometimes she sounded strong, sometimes tired. She hated what had happened, but she never asked me to pretend. "You did not break the family," she told me once. "You stopped helping them hide the crack." 2 years later, she fell in her kitchen. A broken hip became rehab. Rehab became assisted care. Assisted care became my mother calling for the first time in nearly 3 years. She did not say hello. She said, "You need to step back from your grandmother's affairs." "No," I said. "She was confused when she named you trustee. She did it 2 years before the fall in an attorney's office." "You poisoned her against us." "No, Mom. The bank records did that." After that, I managed Grandma Ruth's trust exactly as she instructed. Her house, her savings, her care, and her small lake cabin 2 counties over. Every bill was paid, every withdrawal documented, every family request denied, unless it benefited Grandma Ruth directly. Madison called once, screaming that her son Tyler needed a car. Mom called saying Dad's store taxes were behind and Ruth would want to help. Dad left a voicemail asking me to release a little money so everyone could breathe. I saved it. Grandma Ruth died in November before sunrise, with me on one side of the bed and my husband Daniel on the other. Daniel had entered my life gently. He was a public school history teacher who volunteered at the nonprofit where I worked. When I told him I was estranged from my family, he did not ask. "What did you do?" he asked. "Are you safe from them now?" That question made me cry in a parking lot. We married in a courthouse with Grandma Ruth in the front row. My parents did not attend. Madison did not reply. Grandma Ruth held our hands afterward and said, "This is a good family, small, but good." At Grandma Ruth's funeral, my mother hugged everyone except me. Madison cried loudly beside the casket. Dad touched my shoulder once, then stepped away as if my mother might see. 2 weeks later, Margaret Bell held the estate meeting. Grandma Ruth left personal items to several relatives, her wedding ring to me, my grandfather's watch to Dad, a quilt to Madison, her church cookbooks to Mom. The house and savings remained in trust for final expenses and elder fraud protection work. The lake cabin was already in the trust. I was trustee. Madison exploded. "She stole the cabin!" Margaret looked over her glasses. "Your grandmother placed the cabin in trust voluntarily, with full capacity." Then she read Grandma Ruth's signed statement. "I appoint Avery Grace Hale as trustee because she protected me when others used my age and affection to gain access to my funds. Avery did not ask for this responsibility. I gave it to her because she tells the truth when it costs her something." My mother stood up and said, "Do not read that." But it was too late. The truth was already in the room. In the parking lot afterward, Mom stepped close and said, "You think paperwork makes you family?" I answered, "No, I think it proves who treated Grandma like one." She slapped me. Not hard enough to injure, hard enough to make Daniel step forward and Dad whisper, "Elaine," like a warning arriving too late. I took a photo of the red mark on my cheek in the car. Item 37. 5 more years passed. That is the strange thing about family wounds. At first, they fill every room. Then, one morning you realize you went half a day without thinking about them. The wound does not disappear. It becomes part of the weather. Daniel and I built a life in Nashville. My private bookkeeping work grew into a company almost by accident. Elder law attorneys referred clients, then banks, then county agencies. I hired Camille first, then 2 investigators and a retired detective who could hear a lie before the liar finished clearing his throat. We called the company Clear Harbor Financial. Our work was simple and serious. We helped elderly people recover stolen money. We traced forged signatures. We helped families prove what had happened when someone vulnerable was used by someone they trusted. Every time a client cried in my office and said, "I thought I was crazy," I understood exactly what they meant. Clear Harbor grew. A state contract changed everything. Then, a national banking partnership. By the time I turned 34, we had 40 employees, a real office downtown, and a waiting list. A local news station interviewed me. Then, an industry podcast. In one clip, the host asked why elder financial protection mattered so much to me. I said, "Because money is never just money. Sometimes it is medicine, housing, dignity, memory, and the last proof that someone's life still belongs to them. The clip spread farther than I expected. And somewhere in Maple Ridge, someone watched it. First came a LinkedIn view from a private profile in my hometown. Then a message from a cousin. Heard you're doing well. Hope you know your family misses you. It sounded rehearsed. 2 days later, Dad called. I let it go to voicemail. Avery, it's Dad. I saw you on television. You looked like you knew exactly what you were doing. Your mother wants to talk. Madison, too. We've all gotten older. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I should have believed you. Maybe it's time. Madison texted the next morning. Hey, stranger. Tyler keeps asking about family history. Would love to catch up. Tyler was 20 now. The last time I had seen him, he was 12, sitting in the living room with headphones while adults destroyed the truth around him. I replied, What would you like to catch up about? She sent a heart emoji and nothing else. A week later, Mom called. Avery, she said, like she was checking whether my name still belonged to her. Mom, your sister is turning 40 next month. She wants you there. Madison wants me at her birthday dinner? We all do. This has gone on long enough. What has gone on long enough? The distance. You mean the distance after you asked me to sign a false statement, helped accuse me of stealing records, blocked me from Grandma, and let Madison call me poison? My mother sighed. I was hoping we could avoid reopening old wounds. They were never closed. That night, Daniel and I sat on the back porch. They are not inviting you because they suddenly grew a conscience, he said. I know. Then why go? Because they are circling something. I want to see it before they bring it to my office or my house. He studied me quietly. And because part of you wants to know if your father can say it. I hated how well he knew me. Yes, I said. He took my hand. Then we go together, and we leave the second you want to. So we went. The dinner was almost peaceful until dessert. Then my mother slid the 3 documents across the table. The reimbursement plan listed their needs like invoices, mortgage payoff, store tax debt, Madison's legal recovery, Tyler's tuition, parents' retirement support, and monthly family support to be discussed. The quitclaim deed would release the lake cabin from the trust. The statement would make me admit that the past was a misunderstanding. Same lie. Better paper. I looked at my mother and said, You invited me here to sign this? We invited you here because it is time to stop punishing everyone, she said. Madison leaned forward. You have enough money now. Avery, don't act like this hurts you. Daniel spoke softly. Careful. Madison blinked. Excuse me? He did not raise his voice. I said careful. I placed my hand over his and reached for my bag. Then I took out the red portfolio. My mother's eyes moved to it. She knew. Maybe not exactly what was inside, but she knew weight when she saw it. I set it beside her documents. You brought paperwork to a birthday dinner? Madison said. So did you. No one laughed. I opened the portfolio and placed the first document on the table. The statement Mom asked me to sign 8 years ago. The first version of the lie. Next, I placed down the bank records. 6 months of checks from Grandma Ruth's account, forged signatures, vendor payments connected to Madison's boutique. Madison's husband Brent leaned back slowly. He had not known all of it. Next came Mom's text. Family protects family. Next, the returned birthday card to Dad. Next, the bookstore gift card I had sent Tyler, returned without a note. Next, the screenshot of Madison's post calling me poison. Next, Dad's voicemail asking me to release trust money so everyone could breathe. Dad closed his eyes. I turned to the trust documents. Grandma Ruth signed these while fully competent. The cabin is trust property. I cannot give it away because you are embarrassed, in debt, or tired of consequences. Madison's voice shook. Grandma would have wanted Tyler to enjoy that cabin. Tyler can request access like any family beneficiary. You cannot sell it. You cannot borrow against it. And I cannot sign away my duty because you put candles on a cake. Mom leaned forward. After all we sacrificed for you, you sit here quoting legal terms? You raised me, I said. That is not a loan. We fed you. We clothed you. We gave you a home. And when I refused to lie for you, you took it away. Her eyes filled with tears. I knew those tears. They were not always grief. Sometimes they were tools. You have no idea what it was like, she said. Watching you turn Ruth against us. I didn't turn her against you. I showed her numbers. Then I placed the final set of papers on the table. Property records. Rental deposits. Screenshots from a vacation rental site. Madison's face changed. I looked at her. Did you think I wouldn't find it? For 3 summers, the lake cabin had been listed as a short-term rental under Brent's business email. The deposits traced so far totaled $64,000. None of it went to the trust. None of it went to maintenance. None of it went to Grandma's care. Brent turned to Madison. Maddie, she whispered, I was going to fix it. There it was again. I was going to pay it back. I was going to fix it. I was going to tell the truth when the truth stopped costing me. Margaret Bell sent notice last week, I said. The rental listing is frozen. The trust will recover the money. If repayment begins within 30 days, I will recommend civil recovery instead of a criminal referral. Madison stood. You planned this. No, I said. You planned this. I documented it. My father made a sound then. Not a sob. A broken exhale. He covered his face with both hands. Mom reached for him, but he moved away. That was the moment the room changed. For 8 years, Elaine Hale had been the weather. For the first time, someone refused to stand in the rain. Dad lowered his hands. I knew about the first checks, he said. Mom whispered, Paul, don't. He looked at me. I knew Madison needed money. Your mother told me Ruth agreed. I wanted to believe that. Then you came with the papers, and I knew enough. My throat tightened. Why didn't you say anything? His face folded around the question. Because I was a coward. No one moved. I told myself keeping peace was protecting the family, he said. But it wasn't peace. It was letting your mother decide whose pain counted. Mom stood. I will not sit here and be attacked. Dad looked at her. Elaine, sit down. She froze. So did everyone else. Dad reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an old envelope. My handwriting was on the front. I kept your first letter, he said. My mother's face went pale. You threw it away, I whispered. She told me to. I took it out of the trash after she went to bed. His voice broke. I read it more than once. You wrote that you missed Sunday dinners. You wrote that Ruth was safe. You wrote that you hoped Tyler would know the truth someday without losing his mother. He placed the envelope on the table. I should have called you that night. I am sorry, Avery. Not because you are successful, not because we need help, because you were right, and I let them make you pay for it. That did not heal 8 years. It did not return Grandma Ruth's final healthy years. It did not erase the slap, the returned cards, the lies, or the nights I wondered if telling the truth made me unlovable. But it did one thing. It told the room I had not imagined my own life. Sometimes that is the first justice. I slid the reimbursement plan back toward my mother. I will not pay this. Madison laughed bitterly. Of course you won't. I will not pay the mortgage, the store debt, Madison's losses, Tyler's tuition, or monthly family support. Not because I can't, because giving you money after this would teach you that truth is just an obstacle to wait out. Mom's lips pressed together. If Dad needs medical care, he can call me directly. If Tyler wants a relationship with me, he can call me directly. If you want to apologize, you can write it without asking for anything in the next paragraph. Madison said, You really think you're the victim here? No, I said. I think I survived being made into the villain because the real story was inconvenient. I placed the new reconciliation statement beside the old one. Same lie, I said, different font. Daniel stood first. Then I did. Dad stood too. For a moment, I thought he might hug me. He did not. Maybe he knew better than to ask for comfort in the same hour he confessed his cowardice. Instead, he said, Can I call you? I looked at him for a long time. Yes, I said, but not tonight, and not about money. He nodded. Not about money. My mother sat down as if her legs had finally lost their argument with the floor. Madison was crying now. Real tears, maybe, or panic. Brent had moved his chair 6 inches away from her. I walked out of that restaurant with Daniel beside me and Grandma Ruth's wedding ring resting against my chest. Outside, the air was cold and clean. For the first time in years, Maple Ridge felt far away. Not geographically. Spiritually. 3 days later, Margaret Bell filed the formal notice for trust recovery. Madison repaid the first installment 2 weeks after that. I do not know where she found the money. I did not ask. Tyler emailed me in January. The subject line was simple. I don't know what happened, but I want to. I told him we could talk if he wanted, but I would not use him to punish his mother, and I would not lie to protect her. He replied, That sounds fair. Our first call was awkward, then gentle. He asked about Grandma Ruth, not about money, not the cabin, her, what she liked, what she cooked, whether she was funny. I told him she believed cornbread should not have sugar, kept receipts like holy documents, and once threatened to haunt me if I bought cheap coffee. He laughed. I cried after we hung up. Dad called every other Sunday. At first, we talked about weather and work. Then, slowly, truth. He told me he had almost driven to Nashville after Grandma Ruth died, but turned around at a gas station because my mother said I would humiliate him. He told me he kept my letter in his sock drawer. He told me he still heard Grandma Ruth telling him he had taken the easy road and called it duty. Forgiveness did not arrive like sunrise. It came like physical therapy. Small movements, painful, repeated, not guaranteed to restore everything, but proof that something still lived. My mother did not apologize. She sent one email: "I hope you are satisfied with what you have done." I printed it, not for the red portfolio, for a new folder. Not evidence for battle, just a reminder. Some people would rather lose you forever than admit they injured you first. A year after the birthday dinner, I drove to the lake cabin with Daniel and Tyler. The dock was gray and uneven, but still standing. The windows needed washing. The porch steps needed work inside. The cabin smelled like cedar, dust, and summers that belonged to someone else now. Tyler walked through slowly, touching the old radio, the chipped blue mugs, the table where Grandma Ruth used to sort receipts. "She really loved this place," he said. "She did. Did she hate my mom?" I looked out at the lake. "No," I said. "That was part of the tragedy." He nodded like he understood more than he wanted to. That afternoon, we opened windows, swept the floor, and made coffee too weak for Grandma Ruth's ghost to approve of. Tyler asked if he could help the paint in the summer. I said yes. The cabin stayed in the trust. Not because I wanted control, because Grandma Ruth understood something my family did not. A house can hold memories, but only truth can hold a family together. If you build on lies, everything eventually leans. Here is what I learned from 8 years and one red portfolio. Family is not the person who hands you a bill at dessert and calls it healing. Family is not the loudest voice at the table. Family is not blood used as a weapon. Family is the grandmother who trusts you with the truth. The husband who sits beside you without stealing your voice. The friend who gives you a room when the whole town believes a lie. The nephew who asks what happened instead of choosing the easiest version. And sometimes family is the version of yourself that finally stops begging to be believed and starts keeping records. My mother once told me I chose paperwork over family. She was wrong. I chose truth over performance. I chose protection over comfort. I chose the people who could be harmed by silence over the people who benefited from it. And if that broke the family, then maybe it was already broken. Maybe I just stopped holding the pieces together with my bare hands. That is my story. 8 years, one red portfolio, and one birthday dinner where my family asked me to sign away the truth. I did not sign, and for the first time in my life, walking away did not feel like losing a family. It felt like finally leaving the lie behind.